Good morning. Welcome to Lesson 1, Part 17. To get the most out of this video, make darn sure you've got the latest version of first quarter lesson texts in front of you. First quarter lesson texts is the free PDF you can download by using one of the links below the video on its own YouTube page. So, if you don't have the latest version, download that now. I ain't going nowhere. Now, if this is your first encounter with me via the magic of YouTube, then do yourself a favor. Don't watch this video today. Watch Lesson 1, Part 1 today. Start at the beginning. Yes, I'm sure I don't care how impressed you are with your own contemplative attainments. Start from scratch. Every spiritual tradition lauds humility and demeans arrogance. So, start from the beginning. Now everyone's left are my devoted students, or at least my devoted audience. What's the difference between an audience member and a student? Glad you asked. Oh sure, both the audience members and the students watch the videos. But what sets the students apart from the audience members? The students actually apply the instructions. The audience members, they give it some thought, waited for a more convenient time. A more convenient time, my friends, never comes. Okay, so join me on page 5 of the PDF. So, in the last lesson, number 16, let's try that again. The last video, part 16, we explored painless renunciation. Now we come on page 5, first exercise, to the first contemplation of impermanence. And I tell you true, this is an easy idea that has a huge effect. Kind of like the quanta. One valence electron alters its orbit, bam, huge things change. Same thing here. Easy exercise, non-intellectually challenging, but it's huge. This is the workhorse for letting go. This is the simple exercise that has potentiality, if you let it, to change your life. So look with me on the top of page 5, and the question reads, how could this, fill in the blank, and its causes not be permanent? What, my friends, what are the two pillars of Buddha's wisdom teachings? Interdependence and impermanence. And we see both of them explored in this exercise. Come, let us look at the 4 main schools of Buddhist Tantra that have flourished in Tibet over the last handful of centuries. You have the Nyingma, the Kagyu, and the Sakya. All of them emphasize impermanence in their wisdom training. The Geleg emphasize interdependence in their wisdom training. But in this exercise, we have both interdependence and impermanence in the same exercise. This is still theoretical. Let's break it down. Where does interdependence rear its head? Glad you asked. In the second set of brackets, where it reads, how could this, fill in the blank, and its causes? By asking this question, we are embracing and playing with the assumption that things do not happen randomly. That things have causes. That the things in our life, the phenomena in our life, the beings in our life, the things, beings, and phenomena in our life are affected by causes, conditions, components, and even by our thoughts and our mind and our perceptual acuity. So to put did you hear that? That's the sound of this morning's proud sponsor, Basement Cat. Come, Basement Cat. Let's teach Dharma. Oh boy. So Basement Cat, wouldn't you concur that everything affects everything else? If not directly, then at least indirectly. if not actually, then at least potentially. What's that? You think I'm a pretentious fob? Everyone's a critic. Have fun, make friends. It's Friday, so it's show and tell day. I wonder what tales the cat will be telling about me. Okay. So, whether we know it or not, whether we feel it or not, everything affects everything else, if not directly, then indirectly, if not actually, then potentially. That's huge. And that parenthetical phrase appears in more than a third of the contemplations in this set that we're exploring here in the Lesson 1 collection of videos. This is huge. So is this something we have to puzzle? Like some great celestial Rubik's Cube? No. Remember, these are assumptive questions. These are rhetorical questions. This is not the hard-ass path to frustration and despair. This is the lazy bastard path to enlightenment and bliss. So all we do is ask the question on the in-breath and relaxed into the recitation of the 6-syllable mantra during the out-breath. It's that simple. I've had people complain to me, or if you're Jewish, I'll use the Yiddish term, gvetch. All these people gvetch and complain and moan. Lama Jigme, this is just too easy. This is nothing more than reading meditation. Well, how can I be proud of myself if I do easy stuff? Folks, our job is not to be proud of ourselves and go, yeah, I'm pretty awesome. No, that's the path of self-righteousness. Now, our job is to say, I did it. I hit the 10th boomy. Woo-hoo! Now I can go out and help people. Yee-haw! But I promise you, don't worry, if you hit the 10th boomy, you will not develop a sudden taste for country music. Perhaps refine our appreciation for Led Zeppelin, but I make no promises. Let's continue. How could this fill in the blank and its causes not be permanent? Now remember, prior lesson, or I should say prior video, what are the 3 primary colors of painful emotions? What are they? Anger, fear, sorrow. So, how could this anger and its causes, some guy being an asshole, not be permanent? Or some trauma from our past, or a bad dream, or a conundrum at work, whatever it is. How could this anger not be permanent? Once again, we don't have to figure this out. These are rhetorical questions. We ask them, and then we relax into the mantra. How could this fear and its causes not be permanent? And let's touch on that for a second. A lot of people, good old Freud, bless his heart, he made a distinction between rational emotions and irrational emotions. That the irrational emotions were quite often manifestations of neurosis. Bless his cigar-smoking soul. But here's the deal. It don't matter whether our anger, fear, or sorrow is based in reality or based in neurosis. For us, it's real. It's an emotional reality. It's an endocrinological reality. It's a neurological reality. It's a physical reality. It's a perceptual reality. So it doesn't matter. It's not our job to use the rational emotive approach. It's not our job to debate our emotions as if we could, because you really can't. The part of our brain that feels negative emotions evolved a very long time before our prefrontal cortex did. The part of our brain capable of feeling these really dark, painful emotions is not capable of hearing our logical or quasi-logical debates. It's not going to work. So just be aware of what you're feeling and bring it into this exercise. How could this fear and its causes not be permanent? How can this sadness and its causes not be permanent? But you say, but some causes are permanent. What if my uncle died and I loved my uncle and now I'm sad because he died? The cause of that sadness is his death, yes. But that death that we're experiencing right now, the rawness of it, that loss, is not a permanent thing. That state will fade. For instance, right now we're already experiencing not the death of your uncle, but the death of your uncle this week. Well, in 2 weeks it will no longer be the death of your uncle this week. And in 2 months it will no longer be the death of your uncle this week. And in 2 years it will no longer be the death of your uncle this week. If you look carefully, one of my teachers used to say, if you look deeply, if you look deeply, you can see impermanence affects everything. Once again, not directly, then indirectly. If not actually, then potentially. It's always there. Now, is this a dogma that we should believe? That you fight a holy crusade for, be willing to die for? Oh, please, no. No, no, no. Turn down the noise. Get off the cross. Someone else needs the wood. No. Remember, a dogmatic view of a teaching, even if it is the truth, is a ball and chain which will slow down our journey on the path and make the accomplishment of the highest levels on the path impossible. We don't want that. So rather than exploring this as a dogma to be believed, we are playing with this as if it was a concept, a possibility, an idea to explore, to roll around metaphorically upon the tongue of our mind, and to notice the results. One of the things that I absolutely love about the enlightened explanation of Buddhism, as opposed to the ignoramus quasi-explanation of Buddhism, is that it doesn't require faith. It simply requires eyes that see the world afresh. It doesn't take a poet, a philosopher, or a physicist to walk outside and notice the seasons. Even in Southern California, you can see there's a difference in the seasons. With the coming and going of every season, what do we see? The impermanence of a year. At night, after you've done your dishes after dinner, you go outside, you can notice the moon. And notice which phase it's in. Is it new moon? Is it quarter moon? Is it half moon? Is it full moon? Is the moon waxing? Is the moon waning? With the phases of the moon, we see the impermanence of a month. Every morning, after you put your clothes on, you can step outside with bare feet and step on bare earth if you can, or at least bare concrete. You can look around and see the beauty and the hope of the dawn. After work, after you've come home, maybe after you've had a workout, you can step outside and see the splendor of the dusk, of the sunset. Another's day spent. Time to relax. So with the rising and the setting of every sun, what do we see? The impermanence of a day. And now we could relax. We could lean back in our chair. We could put our hands on our chest. With every breath, we could feel our rib cage swell and sink. And with the rising and falling of our heaving chest, what do we feel? The impermanence of a breath, the impermanence of a moment. That is why it is written in a more advanced text, ever-changing, one and all. There is nothing permanent to grasp. And there you have it. You see, the significance of impermanence is not as a intellectual plaything, but to remind us that it can't be grasped. What I'd like to do in seminars and I'd like to do in retreats is find the frailest, oldest woman there, invite her on the stage, on the teaching platform, and invite her to, grab my forearm as tight as she can. And I ask her, to grab it with the same tightness and intensity and earnestness you would if you were hanging from it, from a cliff. So she squeezes really hard. And you might even see her knuckles begin to whiten with the strain. And I ask her, could she maintain the intensity of the grasp for a minute? She says, oh, yeah. Great. How about an hour? A day? A month? A year? A decade? 10 decades? 20 decades? The answer, of course, is no. Why? Why couldn't she? Besides the obvious answer of strength, within 20 decades, the hand that she grabs with will have turned to dust, rendering grasping an impossibility. And even if she took her Wheaties and ate her vitamins and was able to live for 20 more decades, the wrist that she was grasping would have turned to dust, and therefore render grasping an impossibility. In the arena of impermanence, eventually all things become non-graspable. The heat of summer gives way to the crispness of autumn, which gives way to the bitter cold of the winter, which gives way to the hope of spring, which gives way to the furnace of summer. Things are changing all the time. Every day we shed millions of spent dead cells. In fact, and this is a gross little fact you may want to treasure, that which we call dust is body ash. Oh yeah. If you ask yourself, why are we always digging down in archaeological digs? Where does this dust come from that seems to bury civilizations? The answer is our bodies. Woohoo! Just like the character of the Peanuts cartoon strip, Pigpen. Remember how Pigpen was always surrounded by his little aura of dust? Ha ha! So are we. Nasty, is it not? So, we shed skin cells and other cells every day through our breath, through our skin, through our urine, through our poo, when we shower, when we shave. Everything is in a constant state of flux. The majority of the cells you have in your body now weren't in your body 7 years ago, with the exception of the dead scar tissue cells. There you go. I'm told by neurologists that neurons don't regenerate. So, with the exception of your scars and your nerves, everything else has been swapped out. How cool is that? We live in a constant state of flux. And oh yeah, don't have any illusions about the permanence of your neurons, because they die too. They just don't regenerate. Kind of sucks, doesn't it? You got a cut, no more problem. Your skin will regenerate. What's that? You say you got a broken bone? No worry. If it's set properly, those bones will regenerate. What's that? You say you damaged nerve? Sorry, friend, you're SOL. So impermanence is all around you. Now, some fundamentalists and many sects will use impermanence as a way to scare you straight. You know, you better do the right thing or you're going to die and be in judgment and you can go to hell. You can go to Jewish hell or Christian hell or Muslim hell or Buddhist hell or Hindu hell or Taoist hell. Ooh, look out, the flames await you. Folks, that is a huge mistake. Any decision you make based out of fear is sowing the seeds of resentment. And if you think fear is challenging, resentment, if you think fear is like having the cold or flu spiritually, then resentment is like having cancer spiritually. It will mess you up. Some people are atheists for philosophical reasons, bless their hearts. Some people are atheists because they were angry at the fundamental abusers who laced into them as children. And they just become angry atheists. You know, some people feel like they were born homosexuals. Some people feel that that was the only option left to them. Some people who were abused by members of the opposite sex in childhood or in their adult life, you know, go with homosexuality. Not because they necessarily love the same sex, but because they just deeply resent the opposite sex. So some people, are born homosexuals, some people are born heterosexuals, some people are born bisexuals. But guess who is more fun to hang out with? The people who deeply, deeply love and are attracted to the sex they date, or the people who simply resent the other sex. The resenters are not fun to hang out with. Let me just bring it down. I've met some lesbians that just love women, and I've met lesbians that hate men. The lovers are always much more fun to hang out with than the haters. Same thing with homosexuals. I've hung out with homosexuals that love men. I've hung out with homosexuals that hate women. The lovers are always more fun to hang out with than the haters. Thing goes with everything. Whether you are a Democrat because you love Democratic ideals, or you're a Democrat because you hate Republicans, guess what? The lovers are more fun to hang out with than the haters. Same thing if you reverse it. If you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican because you love the GOP, bless your heart. If you're a Republican because you hate Democrats, guess what? The lovers are more fun to hang out with the haters. Same thing with fitness. If you prefer free weights to body weight exercises, do it because you love it, not because you hate that. Hate is poison. Hate is toxic. Now, if we feel that, does it make us a bad person? No. Remember. Who we are is not determined by what we feel, but rather by what we choose to do with what we feel. So, rather than embracing impermanence, I already covered that. So, we don't explore impermanence as a threat of the grave, but just a way of exploring the way that the natural state of things being phenomena. Everything is changing. Things wax and they wane. They come and they go. But if we use the awareness of impermanence in the right way, it'll help us to let go. Whether we're letting go of the suffering in our life, or we're letting go of the pleasure in our life, or whether we're letting go of the neutral stuff in our life. The more we let go, the more room for bliss and wisdom. So, how could this, let's play with this right now. Let's play with this 3 different ways. How could this rage and its causes not be permanent? How could this fear and its causes not be permanent? How could this sadness and its causes not be permanent? I thank you for your time and your kind attention. May you and yours be healthy and happy. Om Mani Padme Hum. Of course, you want to remember to subscribe and click the box so you get the email notifications. You want to go down below and click like, and then click the social media button so you can share this with your friends. Remember, there's another link below this video to take you to the registration page, because 2012's Thursday series of weekly webinars begins September 6th. I'll see you there.